Hear me here. Can you hear me now? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. I don't know why. So essentially, if you were here last week, Streamlabs is doing really weird stuff. You can hear me twice. I got my own stream up so I can hear what everyone else is hearing. Let me move this camera. It looks like I'm really in a weird spot. There we are. It's a bit better. There we are. Cool. So yeah, if you were here last week, many issues with Streamlabs last week. It's not working. I don't know why. My microphone is just not being picked up on my normal homepage. I don't know. But how have we all been? How is everyone? Still waiting for a couple more people to join. No, a few more people. Obviously, if it stays small and quaint today, then that's fine. I do not mind. But how everyone that is here and is ready to rock and roll, how is everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? Let me get my chat up, actually, my pop-up. How is everyone doing? Hopefully you're all good. If you can all hear me as well, that'd also be rather good if you can tell me if you're here and you can hear me. Oh dear, not many people are here today, are they? Maybe everyone's just tired. I think everyone's slowly joining, slowly filtering in. How is everyone? If you come on in, tell me how you are. I would love to know. Let me see if I can deal with my, because obviously I've got this really big like overhanging on my webcam. I don't really know why. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I am good. Thank you all for joining. I'm alright, yeah. My microphone still's not working on my like normal starting page and my face is big, so you've got little faced Olivia today, unfortunately. Although that might not be a bad thing. But I'm good. I've been chilling all day today. I've been hanging out. How have you guys been? How have you guys all been? So how have mocks been going? I know people have had mocks last couple of weeks. How have those been? And people are probably finished now. If you've still got mocks, I'd be surprised. Actually, I think one of my students has still got mocks today, but today is their last day. You know, a lot of have mocks in January. I always talk about mocks, don't I? But then we are a maths GCSE stream. That is one of the main topics that people worry about, isn't it? I suppose. How are we all feeling for your real exams? Real ones are in, I think they were like 6 months a couple of days ago, weren't they? The 6 months ago on like the 17th or the 19th? I think there was 6 months, or 6 months not ago, 6 months in the future, but like 2 days ago. So like 5 months and like 20 something days or something. How are we all feeling for those? Isn't that spooky? Year 11, nearly finished. Nearly completely done. Oh, how time flies, huh? I'm still waiting for people to join. I've got 9 people. I guess we can also almost make a start, I suppose. So we are doing ratio today. How fun is that? Ratio is not my favourite of topics, I will not lie to you. Ratio is not a topic that is my personal favourite. I'm much more of an algebra person. Ratio is like a kind of topic, because it's very tricky, because this ratio is just, there's so much of it, right? All the questions you get for ratio are very different from each other, aren't they? Like you can get one topic being one part of ratio, then another topic later being like something completely and utterly different. It's not like consistent like a lot of things in maths are. Obviously sometimes you get maths questions which are like just like you see the question, you'll see it again in exactly the same way, but it's with different numbers in a different paper, right? But ratio is not normally like that. Some questions are quite repetitive, and we'll see a couple of those today. But a lot of the time with ratio is kind of like a luck of the draw, really, isn't it? You can either do it or you can't, like with ratio. Not something you can really often practice to the T, like you can with other stuff. Kind of like circle theorems, kind of the same thing. You can learn all the circle theorems, but you can't always spot when each one is used. Like you can learn all the ratio, like you can learn what you do typically with a ratio, but you can't learn exactly what to do and when. That's the tricky thing. Cool then, so are we ready to get started? Are we all ready? We're a bit quiet today, huh? Maybe everyone's just tired. Maybe that's why. Are we ready to get started? Because I've been getting some feedback that you guys would like less of me rambling and more of me working. So are we all ready to get started? Let me know. Are we here? Are we alive today? Has school got to you? As the drizzly weather? It's dark already. It's like pitch black outside already. Not good for the seasonal depressions amongst us. Not good at all. We ready? Fantastic. Okie dokie then. So, what we're going to do this time is cater. We're going to look at some tricky questions this week. They're going to be quite tough. Some of them are still foundation. Do not worry. If you are a foundation student, some of them are still foundation esque, they will just also be on the high paper. So these are the questions that are like at the end of that foundation paper, beginning of the high paper. So that we're going to do first, get those ones done, dusted. Then we're going to look at some more like higher specific ones. So I think most people here are doing the high paper. Is that right? Are people here in chat currently doing the higher paper? Or maybe they don't know. Maybe just don't know. Here we're doing like year 9 or something. And you're just chilling. Wanting to learn some maths. Doing the high paper? Perfect. Thank you, Isra. Doing the high paper. Yes, perfect. So yeah, we'll do like more higher catered, but we will still be doing foundation questions for those amongst us that are doing foundation, and just a bit of like a warm up for the high students, you know. It's always nice to do something a bit easier sometimes. So let us get started. Okie dokie then. So here's the first question. I know it's really small. Do not worry. I understand. I'll make it bigger. So this is from the June 27 paper 3 from Edexcel. It's 5 marks. But I don't know if you're doing AQA or OCR. Do not worry. It's all the same stuff. All the same maths. You know, whatever papers you like, essentially. And they're all pretty much the same. Just AQA word their questions in a manner that's awful. Edexcel a bit clearer. I know it's kind of the fungus a bit funky because I've zoomed it in so much because there's all this space for me to write on. Too much space. But can we see it, this question roughly? I'm going to read it out as well, but can we read it on our own? There's quite a lot of stuff here. Can we see it? Okay. To those who are chatters, can we see the question? Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So then, question 4 from the higher paper, paper 3. So you can use a calculator if you like. Up to you. So Daniel bakes 420 cakes. He bakes only vanilla cakes, banana cakes, lemon cakes, and chocolate cakes. 2/7 of the cakes are vanilla cakes. 35% of the cakes are banana cakes. The ratio of the number of lemon cakes, the number of chocolate cakes is 4 to 5, the ratio in the ratio question. Work out the number of lemon cakes Daniel bakes. So these kind of questions are really common, more so in Edexcel than they are in AQA, and OCR are actually quite common in there too. Layering fractions with decimals, well, not with decimals in this case, kind of, with ratio. Layering them all together. So I'll give you a moment to have a little think about it, and then I'll give you a bit of a clue if need be. Give you a couple of minutes to have a little go. Feel free to ask any questions. In the meantime, if you have any questions for me, the streamer, or if you just don't understand, want me to clarify anything, want a clue, let me know. I'll be happy to oblige, as the diligent streamer I am. And I sip on my water. Go, everybody, you know, grab your scientific calculator, grab a pen and grab some paper. Have a go. Feel free. It's a big calculator, Jemima. So paper 1. So these are the paper labels of paper for AQA and Edexcel, because I know OCR they have for higher it's 4, 5, 6 papers, and then paper foundations 1, 2, 3. Then higher is 4, 5, 6. But so these are like framed as in like Edexcel and AQA, because that's the majority. Paper 1 is non-calculator, paper 2 and 3 are calculator. Paper 3, so it is indeed a calculator. Calculator. And then if you're OCR, technically paper 2 is the non-calculator paper. So your paper 5 is your non-calculator. So look, so if I find 2/7 of 420, so I need to find 35% of that answer, or 420. It's a good question. Let's have a look at how the question's phrased. So he baked blah, blah, blah. 2/7 of the cakes, total of vanilla cakes, and 35% of the cakes are banana cakes. So of the cakes in total. If it was of the cakes you just found, it'd be 35% of the, like they would say something like there's an equal number or something like that, right? So not quite. So it'd be, if it's 35%, you won't really have that, I don't think, really ever. I can't even think how you phrase it. So yeah, of the total cakes. Good question though, good question. People often get mixed up because the wording isn't all that clear, is it? But good question. But yeah, it's of the total of the cakes collectively. It'd be like 35% of that number of vanilla cakes are banana cakes, something like that. It sounds a bit funny, but something like that would be if it was 30% of that number. And then would you convert the fraction into a percentage? You could do. It's up to you. You can work with it as a fraction, as a percentage, as a decimal. Completely up to you. But you can find 2/7 of the cakes just using fractions, if you'd like. Or convert to percentages, either or, up to you. Just divide it, times it by 100 to convert to a percentage. But yeah, don't have to. You can do though, if you'd like. It's easier to work with everything in the same units. Or in the same kind of type of thing, I suppose. Perfect, Rahaf, that's really good. It is indeed 68. Let you all get to let everyone else get to a conclusion. Give you all one more minute and then I'll start going through it. But really well done. Have you got that already? Oh, there's a couple more people here that aren't talking. So if you've also got it and you're lurking, it's called being a lurker if you don't type on a stream. If you're lurking, you've also got it, then very well done. It's easy, it's just long. It is long, yeah. I wouldn't say easy peasy because there's a lot of stuff going on here. I think this is grade 5, right? So it's not easy peasy. It's just a case of, and it's also being taken care of as well. Taking the care to make sure all your numbers are right and to not type anything wrong, like incorrectly in your calculator, things like that. Because there's so many numbers going on. 5 marks, you know. That's what it's written for though. So it's not like particularly difficult, but it's not the easiest thing in the world either, I suppose. But anyway, let's get started then. So 2/7 of the cakes are vanilla cakes. So 2/7 of, this word of always means times in maths. Of always means times. So we're going to do 2/7 times 420. You can find this in other ways, but you should get, if you do 2/7 times 420, 120. Or 420, you should get 120. So you get 120 vanilla cakes. I know it's not bad, folks, but don't worry about it. It's just a lot. There's a lot of different stuff going on here. People will sometimes get very overwhelmed by just how much is in the question. So breaking it down, doing little bits of it. So if you're stuck, I try and find the percentage, because percentages we might be able to do. So you have a little think. So 120 vanilla cakes. Then 35% of the cakes are banana cakes. So 2 different ways to do this. You can either convert that to a decimal, like I'm going to do. Let's do a decimal, you divide by 100. So 35% as a decimal would be 0.35. Divided by 100, 1, 2, 0.35. Then I'm going to times that, because it's of again, number of cakes, which is 420. So 0.35 times 420, and that gives us 147. 147 banana. Okie dokie. Or you could find like 10%, where like dividing it by 10, so you get 42, half that, and then like times the 10% by 3 to get 30%, then add them together. Also do that. So like 10%, that would be then 42. So then 30% is 42 times 3, which is whatever that is, 126. And then 5% is then half of that, which is it's not 21, I should say, 21, and then add them together, this one and this one, so 5% added to 30% to then get 147. Either or, both work. And then the ratio of the number of lemon cakes, the number of chocolate cakes, is 4:5. So that is just the ratio of lemon to chocolate. So take out everything else. We're just looking at lemon and chocolate here. So how many cakes is that? So we're going to do 420, take away 120, take away 147, and you're going to be left with whatever we have left. So 420 minus 120 minus 147, and that is 150. Oops, daisy. 153. My pen has my pen has like little buttons on it. If I click it twice, it like opens up like the inspect. Very spooky stuff. And then we've got 153 cakes left that are just lemon and chocolates. Then we're sharing this number of cakes in the ratio 4:5. So what this is saying that for every 4 lemon cakes you have, you're going to have 5 chocolate cakes. If you've got another 4 lemon cakes, 5 chocolate cakes. 4 lemon cakes, 5 chocolate cakes, right? They always work in the same ratio. You've got 4 lemon cakes, you're going to have 5 chocolate cakes at the same time, right? So add them together, we're working in groups of 9 cakes, right? You have 4 every time, 4 lemon, every time you have 5 chocolate, that's 9 cakes you're always going to have together as like a collective group, right? All together, right? You just have a multiple of that group. So then let's figure out how many lots of this group we have at 153. So 153 divided by 9, that is going to get us 17. So we have 17 lots of our group, right? So we have 17 lots of our 4 lemon cakes and 17 lots of our 5 chocolate cake, right? So you cover around in groups, we just have 17 lot of that like set of 9, okay? So then lemon cakes, what they're after, so we're going to do then 17 lots of this 4 lemon cakes, 17 times 4, which is 68. Ta-da! There we have it. 5 marks. Okay, how do we feel now that we've gone to the end? How are we feeling about that? So it depends on roughly whereabouts you are. There's a lot to do here. So it's not, you're right, individually, if they asked you like just do the fraction or just do the ratio or just do the percentage, it would be like a grade kind of 4. 3 kind of question, because they're all together stacked in one question. It's very overwhelming, right? There's so much to do, especially for 5 marks. That's what makes it about a grade 4 or 5 kind of question. So it's tricky, but how do we all feel about it now that we've seen it? How are we all feeling? Calculator notes for it? Oh, good luck. Good luck, good luck, good luck. I'd recommend for calculator of that, if you're on the higher paper, trigonometry is a good one to practice. Sine rule, cosine rule, very good one to practice. Very, very good. Cool. Forgot to pass the step of adding 4 and 5, but it was okay. Good. Yeah, ratios, tricky, aren't they? Pain to know what to do with them. So let's move on then, see what else we got. We'll do this one, which has a little bit of challenge for those that are a little bit further on. But yeah, so we got this one. So this is from the June 2017, I'll zoom it in. June 2017, paper 2H from Edexcel. Let me zoom it in so you can see it all. Also 5 marks. Very similar question, but slightly strangely worded. It's harder wording is this one. So question 2. On Saturday, some adults and some children were in a theatre. The ratio of the number of adults and number of children was 5 to 2. Each person had a seat in the circle or had a seat in the stalls. 3/4 of the children had seats in the stalls. 117 children had a seat in the circle. There are exactly 2,600 seats in the theatre. On this Saturday, were there people on more than 60% of the seats? You must show how you get your answer. And there I have it, 5 marks. This is also a calculator question, paper 2, which is calculator, question 2 on paper 2. How fun. So this is also a calculator, so if you're going to mock and calculate tomorrow, it's a good question because I have practice. So there we are. They love these kind of questions, come up all the time. This is their favourite. They love these long-winded questions. They're a massive pain for everyone involved. They just take ages. But yeah, let you have a little go at that. It's kind of more funnily worded, this one. The fraction stuff is a little bit trickier. But there we are. Let you have a little think. We can't do very hard area questions today, unfortunately, because today is ratio day. But if you want to find any more really hard area questions, there's no mark schemes, which is kind of annoying. But if you look on, there's a website called Save My Exams. I think the notes are still free. I can't remember. But there's like practice like exam questions on there. You don't get the answers, which is kind of annoying. But they say like collect them up, and you can maybe like ask a friend what they got, and then like compare answers that way. I suppose if anyone else is writing them for that test. But Save My Exams, they have it all organised by topic, and it's really handy. They'll get to see them all schemes. You have to pay like the membership for it, but it's kind of a pain. But if you do want to practice like specific niche area questions, there isn't on Maths Uni, because obviously Maths Uni is the go-to, right? It's the go-to. But sometimes they don't have every topic like in as specific niches as you want it. Like area, they have too early, right? They don't have the complicated stuff. So I would look on Save My Exams. Obviously, you don't get the mark schemes, but have to maybe ask a friend what they did. Ask a clever friend or something. Like bother a teacher or something, see what they get. But there we are, that's what I do. That's where that's where I always get my tricky area questions from. I think MME might have some too. Maths Made Easy, I think they have some complicated area questions, and they will have the mark schemes MME. So maybe try MME as well. They might be good. Like, should I do this yesterday? So yeah, there you go. So yeah, if you practice an exam paper, you'll see these questions before. I just go through when I steal the questions that I like. I have a big spreadsheet of every exam question that's ever been asked and what topic it was on. I'm quite sad like that. I do the papers, because obviously this is my job, right? And so I do all the past papers, just for fun, for my job technically, for fun mostly as well. So just to see what they ask, and I have a big spreadsheet of every question, like broken down by like topic of like, so like I can tell like where the area questions are, where the ratio questions are, where the trigonometry questions are, which papers they've been in, how often they come up, things like that. So I just, if I see good questions, I like star them and I steal them very often. This is one of them. I love this question. It's tricky. Maybe it's quite, it doesn't seem like it's going to be tricky, but then some of the wording of it's quite difficult. All the seats, someone sitting on them, right? Like, aren't any empty seats? Well, yes, all the seats, like, say there's no children getting up to, like, go use the loo, for example. If they have a child sitting, and then the child will be sat there, right? But we want to know if they have seats. People are more than 60% of seats, so not all people will be sat in the 2,600 seats. If the children are sitting in them, then they'll be sitting in them, right? They won't be, like, up and moving. But we want to see if everyone's currently sat down. They want to make sure that there's more than 60% of the seats covered with a belt on them. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Fingers crossed. It is tricky, Lakes Blue. Yeah, it's not easy, this question. It's tough. For a question 2 and everything, it's quite difficult, huh? I think, well, I'll talk you through the fraction bit. I think that's the bit that's probably going to be tricking a lot of you up. But then it should hopefully make it clear from there. If not, we'll go through it still. Ugh, my hair being funny. If not, we'll go through it still. But let's have a look then. So, each person had a seat in the circle or had a seat in the stalls. 3/4 of the children had seats in the stalls. 117 children had seats in the circle. Right, so this bit is quite sneaky the way they've done this here. It's kind of sneaky. So, if 3/4 of the children had seats in the stalls, what fraction of children have seats in the circle? What fraction of all the children is this 117 here? What fraction? Yeah, not quite Lyrics Blue, because that would be 3/4 of everyone. We want 3/4 of just the children. There's 2,600 possible seats in the theatre, but not everyone will be sat on them, because we want to make sure 6% of seats are being filled. And we don't know how many, and that's just of the children. Yeah, well done, Rahaf. Yeah, well done. It's indeed 63%. You are right. Sir, you can help me, Rahaf. You can help explain it to everyone else. Sir, if 117 children are in the circle, what fraction of all the children is this 117? Anyone? Question's open to the board. But if you've gotten it right, as Rahaf just has, maybe he or she may be more inclined to help. They, I should probably say. So how many children does this 117 represent? Any ideas? Give you 10 more seconds and then I'll tell you. Feel might be nervous, don't want to speak up, answer the question. I might have done it a different way actually, to be fair. Okay, so this 117, if 3/4 are in the stalls, then everyone else must be in the circle, right? So this 117 represents 1/4 of all the children, right? So this 117 must be the quarter that is not in the stalls. So if this is 1/4, there's 117, how many is all the children? Like, how many children are there in total in this theatre? If 1/4 is 117, how many is 4/4, which is 1, which is all of them? So if 1/4 is 117, how many children represent 4/4? I wonder. Let's have a double check. It is indeed 468. So you're going to do 117, which is 1/4. To get it from 1/4 to 4/4, you need to times it by 4 to get from 1 to 4. So also going to times 417 by 4 to get 468. So there are 468 children in the theatre. So now you kind of set this situation, this deal here is kind of solved for you. So it's 468 children. Then you can use this ratio from here. So if we know how many children there are, how many adults are there going to be if it's in a ratio of 5 to 2? How are we going to figure that out? Any ideas? How are we going to figure that out? Give you a clue. I'm going to write it like this. Yes, perfect, Israel. Fantastic. Absolutely right. So we've got ratio 5 to 2. You can do it in multiple ways, but Israel is also right. So we've got then 468 here. So you can either think about it as you can divide this by 2 to get that to 1, then times it by 5, get it to the other side. Could do that. Or you can think about, okay, what am I timesing 2 by to get to 468? That's the children. So then I need then times that number by 5. So I need to times the number 2 by, what is that? 234 to get to the number of children, total number of children. Just double check, yep. So I'm also going to times that by 5 then to get to the number of adults, which is then 234 times 5, which is 1,170. Okay, and then from there we can look at the total number of people that were in the theatre, which is 1,100. Oops, Daisy, you can't even see it, can you? Oops, Daisy. There you go, move it down. It's just 2 letters that you missed. So 1,170 plus 468 to work out the total number of people in the theatre altogether. So that plus 468, and that is going to be 1638, that number there. They want to work out this as a percentage of this 2,600. And the way I do that is I think about it like a fraction, right? So we know, let me change my colour actually, my colour pen. So we know that we have people, so 1,638 of the 2,600 seats are filled, right? 1,638 out of this 2,600 seats are filled. And then, how do I convert a fraction to a percentage? I divide these two, times it by 100. That's all I do. And then that, if you type that in, will give you 63%. So the answer is yes. And that is that. Now that we've been through it, how are we feeling about that? How was it? Now that we've been through it, the fraction stuff was tricky. If we didn't, it's kind of like, I call them the keys sometimes. So sometimes questions have like a key, right? If you don't understand or you don't get one specific bit of the question, then you're kind of locked out of it, right? So say you could have been able to do the fraction bit, you could have been able to do the ratio bit, but if you can't, well, this fraction bit down here, I should say, this fraction bit here, like the percentage of bit. But if you can't do this bit here, then you're locked out of the question. You can't really get anything. You can't go anywhere if you don't have that bit, which is tough, you know, it's not very easy. That's called the key to the question, right? If you can unlock that bit, if you can do that bit, then if the question's open to you, right? But it's tricky. I don't like questions like this particularly because it's just so hard to like do anything right. You know, it's hard to get anywhere. Hello, Akila. How are you doing? Cool then. Okie dokie then. So, I know it's tricky, Lewis. I know. But let's carry on. Let's storm through one more. This one is higher only. This one is really difficult. So if you want a challenge, this one's the one for you. If you've been finding the other ones way too easy, this one is a challenge. This one's tough. It's from an AQA paper, and AQA are really menacing with their ratio, right? If you want to be like challenged with ratio questions, look on AQA papers. They're really tricky on AQA papers. Edic's a little bit more easier, but a bit easier, I should say, not a bit more easier. But AQA are really tough with their ratio questions, and this is one of them. So, question 19 from the AQA paper 2, so calculator paper. You need one for this. So, Rana sells 192 cakes in the ratio small to medium to large, which is 7 to 6 to 11. The profits for one medium cake is twice the profit for one small cake. The profit for one large cake is 3 times the profit for one small cake. Her total profit is £532.48. Work out the profits for one small cake. Tricky. This is tricky stuff here. This is like grade 7.5, 8 maybe. This is tough. This is a tough question. This is difficult. I'll give you a clue for all involved. I'll give you a clue. You need to involve algebra. Algebra is needed for this kind of thing. Maybe not, but I can't think of a way to do it without algebra. Algebra is kind of a necessity in this case. So, very difficult, very tricky. I'll also give you another clue, just for fun, you know, because I'm nice like that. Another cue. Another cue. So, cue? That's not the right word, is it? Clue. That's what I'm thinking of. This one here. These can be converted into, like, algebraic equations, kind of. kind of like expressions, which you can then use elsewhere. That's your clues. Is there a lot of ratio questions on the paper? Yeah, they love them. They love a ratio question. It's kind of harsh, I know. They love a ratio question. All papers, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, they're not discriminants. They put them everywhere. Everywhere anyway. There'll be at least ratios, the one topic, because there's so many different types of ratio question. There's loads of things they can do with it. Because obviously trigonometry, they can do Pythagoras, SOHCAHTOA, sine rule, cosine rule, area of any triangle. 5 things only, right? They could put algebra in, but you can't really do much else with it. Things like similar shapes. You do similar shapes. Things like fractions. You do fractions, right? But with ratio, there's so many different stuff they can do. So they're not limited to doing because obviously they don't want to do the same thing every year. But with ratio, they don't have to do the same thing every year while having the same topic every year. They love it. It's their favourite. Do I have to do 192 divided by 24? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Assuming that's the right number. Yes, it is. Yes. Perfect, actually, you do indeed. That is indeed the first part. Grand, so let's start there. So it is calculator killer, yeah, it's indeed. Paper 2 is indeed calculator. You're going to need one as well. Math gets a bit fugly later on. Later on in this question. First part isn't too bad, but later on it gets a bit grim. Okay then, let's make a start then. So what I'm going to do first is, like someone suggested in chat, I'm going to add all these together. So I'm going to do 7 plus 6 plus 11 because all the cakes will move in that group, right? I referred to that group last time. They moved in that group again this time. 7, 6, 11, all 3 out of 3 hands, but all 3 in one group, right? So they're going to keep going like that. So you have 7 small, 6 medium, 11 large. It's just going to be a multiple of that set, right? It's got to always have at least those in it. So we're going to add them together. That's 24. Then we're going to do 192. Let me get a different colour pen back again. I'm going to get 192 divided by 24. And that gives us 8. 8. And then what we can do is figure out how many cakes that is, right? We figure out how many small cakes she makes, how many medium cakes, and how many large cakes. She's going to make 8 lots of this 7 small cakes. 8 times 7, that is 56. Ignore me, 56. And then 6 times 8, which is, what is that, like 48? Yeah, perfect. And then forget my times table, it's rubbish with them. And then 11, that is then going to be 11 times 8, 88. It's easy. And that is for a small cake, 88.74. Not quite a high profit. Not quite very high. Okie dokie. And then let's have a little think from here then. So now notice how many cakes she makes. So now we need to kind of put profit into this, right? This is where algebra sort of comes in. So let's read these sentences again. So the profit for one medium cake is twice the profit for one small cake. So one medium cake is, as someone said, yeah, perfect, 2 lots of the small cake. Absolutely right. So then large is then, from the profit of a large cake is 3 times profit from a small cake is indeed then 3 lots of the small cake. So if we put profit into this here, so the amount of money she's going to make is 56 times whatever the profit is for a small cake, right? So 56 times like S in this case. And then making it all into the same like units, putting it all into S's, we're then going to get 48 for the medium cakes times by this 2S here, because she's making 2 times for a small cake for every medium cake she sells. And we care about profit for small here. We don't care about medium or large, we just care about small. That's what this is asking about. So I'm going to do 2S, and then that's going to be, these are S's, not 5s, these numbers here. These letters, I should say here. And then 88 times by 3S, because the profit for a large cake is 3 lots of this profit for a small cake. Then let's figure all that out. 56S to then 48 times 2, which is 96S. And then 88 times 3, which is 264. 264. That's an S here. Let me explain. This is an S. My S's look like 5s. I do apologise. This is an S, like the letter S. Yeah, it looks like a 5. Because my 5s and my S's don't look much different. This is my 5, this is my S. They look very similar. So I do apologise. It is an S. That's also an S there. That's an S, and that's an S, and that's an S. And then that gives us that. So 56S to 95S to 264S. Right? So type very small. And then all these added together is then going to give us the total profit, right? Profit for a small, for all the 56 small ones she sells, the 96 medium ones she sells, and the 264 kind of, well, not really, but ones she sells, right? You can't think of it like that. So then we're going to add all them up, 56S plus 96S plus 264S, and that is then equal to 532.48 or pound 48. Then from here, just algebra, add all these together. We're then going to get 56 plus 96 plus 264, which is 416. Sorry, I will answer your question in a second, just kind of on a roll right now. 416S equal to £532.48. Then to get S on its own, divide that down there. We're going to get S is £532.48 divided by 416, which gives us £1.28. And that is your answer. 5 marks. Ta-da! And there we are. Tricky, huh? That was tough. That was like a grade 7, 8 kind of question. That was really difficult. AQA, as I said, love the tricky ratio questions. If you're doing Edexcel and you're thinking these questions are too easy, I don't like. I want some challenge. In my question, then go to AQA. What are the questions about this on Edexcel paper? No. Edexcel's normally more clearly laid out. They'd normally have it more spaced out. They'd make it clearer what they were asking. Because Edexcel, this is just my speculation, right? But I think because Edexcel have a very big international exam board as well. They have the IGCSE. So I think they're used to writing more plainly. Because for the IGCSE, obviously it's sat by people where English is not their first language, in places like really everywhere. I see students in Qatar that do it, and students in Dubai. A lot of students in Dubai do it. Who's everywhere do it over it. I know my friend used to live in Togo in Africa, and she did the IGCSE. So a lot of students who English is clearly sometimes not their first language. Sometimes it is. No, it's not, right? So they are used to writing more plainly because they purposely write those papers more plainly, right, for those students who English obviously not their first language. So they normally have the GCSE, so the ones for English students, are often not as simple but easier to digest because they're used to writing for a different crowd. Whereas AQA don't have that. AQA can just write whatever they want, essentially, and they make it really confusing to AQA. But then again, the math on Excel is typically harder, so they go further with the maths. So AQA kind of stops sooner in difficulty, but they make their questions more poorly worded. Whereas Edexcel, they make the questions harder, but they're easier to kind of understand what you're doing. It's just a case of, how do you know what to do, right? That's just a case of, do you understand the maths fully enough to do it without having to think about what are they actually asking me to do? Different problems for different exam boards. Does that make sense? I've got so many questions. Do I think Edexcel is easier than AQA? Yeah, I do. This is my professional opinion. This is just my personal opinion, right? It's just a case of opinion. But I struggle a lot less with Edexcel papers than with AQA papers. I think they're a lot more simply written. But the content on them is a lot harder. To do with that what you will, The content is harder, but the questions are more easily organised. So if you're good at digesting maths problem, but you find it hard to deal with the harder topics, then AQA would probably be easy for you. If you are fine with the harder topics, but like having questions, but struggle with digesting information in a question, then Edexcel will be easier. Does that make sense? It just depends on the type of person you are, what kind of maths you like. And there we are. And then where did you get 416 from? I added each of these. So profit for a small is that, profit for a medium is that, profit for a large is that, and then added all them together to get 416. 48 times 2. 48 times 2. Because, it's twice the small cake, and we're getting it all in terms of the small cake. That's the small cake's what we're interested in, right? We're getting it all in terms of that. And for every kind of medium cake she sells, she might as well sell 2 of the small cake, kind of. Does that make sense? So you're kind of doubling it to compensate because you earn kind of like twice as much with the medium cake. Does that make sense? And there we are. Hope that makes sense. And then, how can I revise my paper 1? Because I don't know what topics are going to be on it. Essentially everything, apart from things like the sine rule and the cosine rule typically are not on a paper 1. But normally if they are not, then sometimes you can replace it with 3D trig. But there we are. Exact trigonometry is really kind of the one topic that's on paper 1, not on the others, exact trig. But other than that, there's not much difference between the papers and the fact they don't have a calculator, obviously. So make sure you know how to like add and divide and times and all that with decimals and things like fractions are really good on paper 1. They love fractions on a paper 1. Fractions are their favourite. Make sure you're very good with your fractions. And then, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. And yeah, Western's have a lot of words in you. And yeah, I think everyone does. Because you come to maths to do numbers, don't you? You don't come to maths to do words. Words are tricky to digest. Like with this question, the actual maths behind it isn't that bad. It's just a case of the wording of it, which is kind of confusing. My least favourite topic, that's vectors. Grade 9 vectors, disgusting. I hate them so much, they're awful. Grade 9 vector questions, like the questions right at the end of Edexcel papers, AQA don't have them very much. With AQA, obviously, the content on AQA isn't hard as a topic on, like the content on Edexcel. They ask the questions worse, but the actual content-wise, it's a bit easier. But Edexcel higher vector questions are really, really something else. My favourite topic... the ones that are always the same. So the ones that are always the same, things like recurring decimals to fractions, always the same, love it. Things like direct and inverse proportion, also always the same. Whenever it comes up in a paper, they are always the same. These are some topics that you can just like, if you learn how to do them, if you see them, if they come up in your exam, there'll be no difference than what you've seen before. The recurring decimals to fractions, direct and inverse proportion, things like inequalities on lines, always the same. Things like similar shapes, always the same. Things like, what else have we got? Things like simultaneous equations, always the same. There's some topics that are just always the same, no matter where you see them, what paper they're in, what the context is, they're always the same, right? Those are the questions that I like. I like those ones. How are grades calculated over the 3 papers? So it doesn't really work, like you don't get a 6, 5 and a 7 in all of them. So what they do is they add all the papers up. So obviously their papers are out of 80, right? And they add all the papers up. So out of what, 8, 6, 240. That took me way too long. But 240, and then they'll do grade boundaries based off that. So what your mark is out of 240. So what you get on individual paper doesn't really matter. It's just kind of, obviously you want to get as high as you can to bump up your average. But if you score really poorly on paper 1, then really well on paper like 2 or 3, then it'll like average out to be like the middle. So it doesn't really matter. Like you won't get like on combined science, it's a little bit different. It's like all a big average, and you get 2 grades depending on what your average is. Confusing, right? But with maths, it is do it all out of 240 and then just see what you get. They do a percentage wise based on 240. Hope that makes sense. They also decide like obviously on the year. So they get all the papers in, they mark them all, and then of course not everyone can get a grade 9. Everyone's done really, really well that year, they'll move the grade boundaries. They'll make it harder or make it easier depending on how people have done. So yeah, you can use all grade boundaries kind of roughly see, but obviously this year may be different than last year typically, and then like the year before that. Obviously COVID kind of messed the grade boundaries a lot, but alas. Edexcel going to get an equation sheet this year. You are. It hasn't been confirmed what equation sheet you're getting, but it says you're going to get one. I'm assuming it's going to be the same one as last year. That's my assumption, my professional assumption. I can't imagine why they wouldn't. I don't know why they wouldn't take anything off or add anything. I don't know. I can't see what they would or wouldn't. But that is what I would assume. Get the same one as last year. For the sciences, you're also getting all the equations in physics. Not in chemistry or biology, but in physics, you're getting all of them. Again, have not confirmed or denied which equations you're getting, technically. But I can't imagine it being any different to last year. I mean, why would they bother make it any difference? I'd imagine it'd be the same. Get them. I think the most thing they get creative is like, yeah, they get really creative. It's like ratio can be anything. Do anything under the sun with a ratio question. It's just, yeah, it's tricky. Is it true only 14 marks on the higher to pass? I mean, it depends on the year. I mean, I think you need... I can't really tell. If you Google the grade boundaries, it'll show you what it was for that particular year. It'll be like overall for all of them, right? Or you just Google it. Okay, just Google Edexcel or AQA 2022 exam equation sheet. It'll come up. It was the first link on YouTube on Google. It was just the first link. It'll be there. It's not all that helpful. It just gave you sine rule, cosine rule, area triangle, some random stuff that you're never going to use. Like some of the stuff on there you will not use. I can guarantee that for you. Some of the stuff that will not be necessary, you will not use it, right? Actually, might as well grab it for you. 1 second. We had to see a different screen now, but let me move that over there so you can't see it. I'll just grab it for you. I'll show you. Excel 2022 equation sheet. So we'll just put the first link, and it is indeed the first link. So this is, just in case you're curious, we may get another question done, we'll see, but I just want to show you this for now. I think it's the conversation is naturally just led there anyway. So this is the equation sheet that you may probably be getting this year. They have not confirmed it, so do not take this with a pinch of salt. They have not confirmed it will definitely be this one. It's the same, this is Excel's one, it's the same for AQA, they have the same things on them. And OCR, same things on them. But I say they have not confirmed it's going to be this exact one, so they may change it yet. They haven't announced anything. They just announced that you're going to get one. Which one? Who knows? But probably this one, I would assume. This is what it looks like. So let me see what you can see which bit's chopped off. Okie dokie. So you get, so this is all the area stuff. Trapezium, prism, circle, circumference and area. If you need the formula for a cone, they'll give it to you in the question like they normally do. Well, they should. That's what they've said. They haven't said anything else up. They haven't said anything about AQA, I don't think, anyway. Because I'm on a lot of teacher forums, and they haven't said anything about AQA not getting one. I can't imagine why you wouldn't, because that'd be a bit unfair, wouldn't it? If Excel got one and you didn't. Bit unfair. And this is the quadratic formula, Pythagoras theorem, trigonometry. This is awkwardly arranged. You wouldn't use this. Then these two are irrelevant. You would never use them like this. And that one and that one and that one. You don't use those. They're irrelevant. You don't need them. They just look like awkwardly arranged. I don't think I've ever used this. Ever, to be honest. That's the equation sheet. Obviously, if a teacher knows more than I do, then maybe they do. I don't know. But they haven't announced. Maybe they haven't told you because they haven't announced what you're going to get yet. They have said you're going to get one, but they haven't announced what it's going to be yet. And they may have like one equation on. We don't know, right? We actually don't know for certain yet. It may have nothing on it. We don't know yet. But I'm doing foundation for my math mock next week, but then my teacher will decide if it's do higher paper. So, well, good luck, you know. Good luck, because the higher paper is tough. And if you're in year 11 right now and you haven't been taught any higher paper stuff, it's going to be difficult. So bear that in mind. It's going to be tough to get those grades up if you haven't been taught any of it, because obviously there's a lot of high content that isn't on the foundation paper, a lot of it, right? So good luck with that. But good luck for tomorrow. Hope it goes well for you. Hope it goes in your favour. When you do well. Yes, you get an equation for all 3 papers. You do indeed. Or should anyway. We don't know yet. Yeah, let's do another question. We've got like 8 more minutes. Let's do one more question. Let's see. Let's do a fraction with ratio question. Let's do like this one. This is the good kind of introductory one. They do these ones all the time. They also like this ones, both AQA and at Excel. They love this kind of stuff where you're converting a fraction into a ratio or a ratio into a fraction. I love it. It's their favourite. So, question 10 on the Excel. It was last year's, well, not last year's, but the last paper we have for them, 2020 paper, June-November, because it was technically meant to be in June, but then got postponed to November, and paper 1 for Excel. So given that, A over B is 2 over 5, and B over C is 3 over 4, find A to B to C. Only 3 marks. I'll let you have a little think. How can we convert fractions to ratios? Do we remember? How do we? Because fraction and ratio are practically very similar, like almost the exact same thing, right? Just in case of being written differently. So, will you go through functions? Not really, not functions. Function would have been a good idea actually, but then we wanted to do topics that were like also like on foundation and on higher paper, and functions is only on the higher paper. So not quite. You are right actually, Revenite. You're actually very well done. You are right. Fantastic. Well done. So yeah, we want to do topics that were only on foundation, like on foundation and the higher paper. So obviously functions is not. I'll tell you who has a really good functions worksheet. Maths Uni. Very good functions worksheet. So I'd have a go through that. very good. Also moving functions, like graphs, moving them, like transforming graphs. That's also like functiony stuff. Also very good budget on Maths Uni as well. They know their stuff over there. And then, yes, obviously Samuel, or whoever it would be, I think it's Samuel, just put in a message in the chat telling you all about the survey. If you wish to fill it in. I do take it seriously. I've made it harder today because people have been telling me to do so on the survey. If you want me to make it easier again, then, let me know also on the survey. I'm sure Samuel will tell me. So if you want it easier, then let me know. If you want it harder, let me know. If it's just right, also let me know, So there we are. Cool, yeah. Let's go through the question, yeah. Okie dokie then. So, converting fractions to ratio. Easy peasy. Easiest thing in the world, right? So this fraction here, all we need to do with converting a fraction to a ratio is just change the symbol. So this fraction here, this ratio here, is then equal to 2/5. It's just 2 to 5. Easy peasy, right? And then B to C is 3 to 4. So B to C is 3 to 4. And then if we look here, there's a B here, there's a B here. Let's make them the same numbers. We can just the ratios together, right? So then let's do that. So these numbers, so it's going to be the 5 and the 3. Their lowest common multiple is 15. So they can both into 15. So we're going to get then, let's put it over here, something that A is, and then B is going to be 15, and then whatever C is going to be. And then, okie dokie, so we're timesing 5 by 3 to get to 15. So we're going to do 2 times 3, which is 6. And then we're going to do 4 by 3 to then get, 3 by 5 then gets 15. So 4 by 5 is 20. And that is your answer. How easy was that? Wasn't that good? Question 10 is the case of learning what it means. It comes up all the time. They love this kind of stuff where you're converting fractions to ratio, right? Let's do another one. How am I going to go? 4 minutes. Loads of time. Let's do another one. What about this one? This is an AQA paper. So as you can see, it's the same in both Edexcel and AQA. They both love it. So they're both their favourite things. Let's make this a bit bigger. Okie dokie. 3 marks. You can just kind of see the 3 there. Same number of marks. So A to B is 9 to 4. And 10B equals 7C. Work out A to C in its simplest form. So currently, not a fraction. But could it be made into a fraction? I wonder. There you have a little think. Give it a couple of minutes, then we'll go through it. So not a fraction yet, so not a ratio yet, but could it be made into one? I do wonder. Have a little sip. Get rid of this. How are we getting on? So, give you a clue for all those that are struggling, right? So, you're going to be making this into a fraction, which is a clue I already gave you. Give you it again, one more time. So, what I'm going to do here is possibly make it into the ratio B to C. So, for that, I need the fraction B over C, right? B over C. So, what I'm going to do for that is divide C down there. So, I'm going to get 10B divided by C is then 7, right? Then what I can do is just divide 10 down there. Get it out of the way just to get B over C all on its own. Then we're going to get B over C is then 7 over 10, which then gives me the ratio of, so we've got then A to B is 9 to 4, and B to C is then 7 to 10. Easy peasy. And then, just a case of getting these the same then, isn't it? So we've got B's in both of them again. B, 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 and B. So that's lowest common multiple is going to be 28, I think. Yeah, 28 sounds about right. And then we've got then, so then A to B, we've then got how many? So that's 10 times 7, so that's going to be 63 to then 28. And then this one's going to be that then times by 4. That's going to be then 28 to 40. Smoosh these together. Don't need B's anyway. Kind of get rid of them at this point. So we've got 63 to 40. Don't think that simplifies. Can't see a vision where it does. Yeah, well done. Right half it is indeed. Other way around. But other than that, perfect. Just shoot it round. Wrong way round. But other than that, grand. Okie dokie then. Do we have any questions? Is it all making sense? How are we feeling? I'm actually on time today. Who'd have thought it? My regulars will know that I'm never on time. I'm always chatting too much and I'm always going overtime. So I'm actually on time today. Who would have believed it? If you'd have told me that earlier this morning, that I was going to be on time today, then I would have laughed in your face and called you a liar. But look at me go. Actually on time. Cool. How are we all feeling? How are we all doing? How was that one? How's it gone? That's okay. Easily done. Easily done. Do not worry. Let me see. Is there anything else? Any other ones? Yeah. So I think, call it there. That's what I think. How are y'all feeling? Do we have any questions about anything? Obviously, I might finish the maths now. So I've kind of done everything I kind of wanted to. This is a very similar thing to the others. There's not much difference. But yeah, it isn't. 63 to 40. Do we have any questions either about the maths that we've done today or about upcoming lessons or about, I don't know, just I'm a tutor professionally full-time. If you have any questions about just revision or maths in general or anything like that, I can also answer those. We'll stay here a couple of more minutes. So if you do wish to leave at this point, it's not doing any more maths. I'm just going to chat for 5 minutes. If no one wishes to chat, then we will end it there. It's up to you. Anyone have any more questions? You can also share this with your friends by sharing this link. Oh, how nice. If you wish to share some maths revision with your friends, they'll think you're dead cool, won't they? But I mean, I don't know. I love these sessions. I think they're really fun. And I hope you guys like them too. I hope you guys are enjoying them. I hope they're helpful to people. Obviously, we can't get much done in these sessions. Obviously, an hour is so short. So obviously, you might see a load of live streams on things like TikTok and things, and they go live for hours, don't they? Like, I think the GCSE maths tutor, I don't know if you guys know him, he's on TikTok. He goes live for like 4 hours at a time, doesn't he, every night? Like, so we don't have much time to get done stuff in an hour. So if I was going to do these again, I think I'd suggest making them longer to the Manchester team. I think they should be a lot longer. I think it should be at least 2 hours for maths. Obviously, the other ones, Nketiah and Fliss, they seem to do quite well in their hour. Like on Tuesdays with Fliss, she does it at 5. Then Nketiah on Thursdays at 5. They both tend to get done rather well and like in rather good time. But I always run over because there's just not enough time to do maths in an hour. That's why most people do it in like 2-3 hours, don't they? Things like TikTok. Is that your mocks next week? Best of luck. Good luck to you. My top tips: maths revision, papers, maths uni. That'd be my top tip. Do the papers, figure out what you don't know, prioritize, and then go through questions. And then mince and repeat, do another paper. That's what I do. So obviously you've only got, if you're in year 11 right now, you've only got 5 and a bit months until your actual GCSE start. I think your first math tip is on like the 17th of May or something like that, very early. All of them are very early this year. You finished like a week earlier, like 2 weeks earlier than they did last year, and very early this year. So they're in like 5 months or so. So like hard grind, I would suggest from now until then. I do a paper like every week or so, and then mark it, see what you didn't like, pick a couple of subjects or topics, revise through those, rinse and repeat. Just do paper. Over time, you will pick it up, right? You'll notice what comes up every year. You notice the stuff that's always the same. You'll notice everything, right? You'll notice patterns. You'll notice trends. You'll notice mark scheme points. You'll notice these little things, right? That will then, right, help you in the long run. I recommend papers. Papers are a very good source of revision. What tips should we give for last minute revision? Yeah, very nice. Don't do last minute revision. I mean, don't stay up. Don't do all-nighters. That's what I would suggest. All-nighters never help anyone, right? They don't help. I've done it many a time. Like, I had a really, really bad situation with my life, especially when I did my A-levels. Awful. I hated my A-levels. They were the worst period of my entire life, right? A-levels are really, really, really hard. Much harder than my degree. My degree, so much easier. I could have done like 3 degrees at once before I got to like the demand my A-levels took. I think it's because I went to a really fancy school for A-levels as well. I went to like one of the really good colleges in this country, so it was tough, right? Not proud of anything, it was just tough. So they were really difficult. So I had a really bad sleep schedule. I convinced myself that if I only slept for 3, if I went to bed when it was dark and then woke up when it was went to bed when it was light and woke up when it was light, it'd trick my when it was just. Yeah, I don't remember what I did. I think I went to bed when I was when it was just starting to get light, and then woke up when it was light. and then my brain had like tricked me into thinking that I slept. It was very mentally ill behaviour, to be honest. It was really bad. Do not do that. So I would not stress in all-nighters. I failed, practically flunked physics at A-level because I just didn't sleep. So do not do all-nighters. They're really bad. Just get a good night's sleep is what I would suggest. You know the stuff. You've seen it all before. You've done the content at this point. Just try and sit there in your exam and try and pluck as much as you can from your brain, right? If you do have a couple of hours free the night before and you just happen to want to do some maths revision, right? YouTube videos are really good. As someone else suggested, YouTube videos are really handy to look through. Also doing a paper and then watching someone else go through the questions is also really good. Like watching like YouTube video tutorials on papers. People upload past paper questions on there. Doing things like, say you want a specific grade, then going to Maths Genie and targeting that grade. Obviously they have it all arranged by grade on Maths Genie. Like targeting, like I said, I want a grade 6. Let me work on the grade 6 stuff in case it comes up. I just do like a full chunk of stuff, or hopefully like see if you can manage to do as much as you can, right? Like attack a grade and then keep going down. So that's also something you can do if you've got a couple of hours free. But yeah, I would make sure you get a good night's sleep. That's the best thing you can do. Get a good night's sleep so you attack with like fresh brain, right? You don't want a tired brain doing your maths exam. Will not help. If I don't understand something. Yeah, it's tricky. It's hard to like overcome when you're struggling. It is difficult. That's when I would suggest, if you feel like giving up because you don't understand, then choose a different source, right? So say you're trying to do questions on Maths Genie, you watch their video, you still don't understand, watch someone else's, right? Because obviously Maths Genie are very good and MME are very good. Primrose Kitten is very good. You know, all those classic, all the like free science lessons are very, like the guy that does that in the big old suit, are all very good, but sometimes they just don't click with you, right? So if you're doing questions, like you just watch a video, you think you understand, but you're doing questions, you still don't get it, watch someone else's content, you know? It's maybe just them that you don't like, and that's just the way that it is sometimes. I mean, people probably don't like me. I'm very rambly. I talk a lot. I like to link things back to real life. People don't like that. People just like me to do maths, right? So it's okay. People like different things. You can't make everyone's cup of tea, being a teacher. So you just try someone else if you don't get it. That's what I would suggest. A fresh resource might help. So then you obviously start with 3 choice of fresh, you'll go back to the easier questions, then work way down again, and then you have another like go of practice round before you do the harder ones as well. So it's tricky. June 27th of June next year? Yeah, it's early. Or some cases, you might finish earlier because it depends on when the last exam is. And there's some that are really late, like Polish is always quite late, the Polish GCSE exam. And then like things like Urdu and statistics and further maths is often quite late as well if you do further maths. But I think the last physics exam this year, let me double check. That's the last one I teach for anyway. And the last physics exam is, I'm just going to double check now. Last physics exam, it's always last is physics, is the, let's have a look, is that paper 1? Is the 16th. And then that's my exams board, that's my exams done for that year. So you might finish on the 16th of June if physics is your last exam. Finish on the 16th, which is very earlier than it was last year, very early. Compared to what it was last year. I mean, if you don't do things like Urdu and Polish and statistics and further maths, you might finish on the 16th. Depends. Don't know when the English one are, but they're normally earlier. Physics is normally people's last exam. Yeah, internet's good. English is very good. As me, I've already done a lesson on trigonometry, so feel free to watch back the VODs, the video on demands. I've always uploaded back onto the channel after they're done. So feel free to have a look around on the Maths Tutor channel. My hair's going funny, but feel free to have a look around. We always re-upload the live streams, and it's always labelled in like the title of the video what we've done in that live stream. So everyone that me, Fliss, and Ketia has done every week, they're always uploaded. So we've done trigonometry already. We did Pythagoras, SOHCAHTOA, cosine rule, sine rule. That's what we did. So I can't remember which week it was, but we have done it already. So if you have a look back on the YouTube channel, it'll be there for you to watch back again. Obviously, I won't be there to chat with you, but if you leave a comment, then I might be able to see it. I'll look back and look at the comments when I finish the live stream set and answer any comments you might have. So if you're still stuck on something, then let me know. I'll answer your query in a comment or something, or someone else will answer it. What is Maths Uni? What does that mean? Maths at uni? It's a cool people do. I don't know what you mean. Teacher gave you a book full of questions, so I can use GCSE questions. Yeah, it's because obviously sometimes those resources those teachers have made, sometimes they're very good, but other times they're not very good, you know? So if you struggle with those questions and you just don't like them, right, then do another set of questions, do a different set, right? There's massive question paper everywhere. There's MME do loads, there's PMT do loads, there's Maths Genie, there's just picking them out from exam paper, just going through all the exam papers and picking them out. There's probably loads of people that have loads of exam paper questions all uploaded. YouTube will have a bunch of them. So if you don't like those specific questions, because if your teacher's made them, your teacher obviously is not an exam, maybe not marker for the exam, but they might be. But they probably won't set the questions for the exam, but probably one of like the writers. So they're not even be very good anyway. Obviously, I don't need a teacher, maybe fantastic. But I would, you know, if you don't like the questions, just do a different source. Don't force yourself to use the sources that your teachers are giving you, unless it's like homework or something. Just do a different source. Doesn't really matter. Rated a 5 Urdu and got a 3 from mock. I used to suck at languages. I used to suck at Spanish. I used to be awful at Spanish. I didn't like the language structure of how you were like taught it. I didn't like the having to learn an essay and then just regurgitate it in a writing exam. I didn't like that. I didn't like having to like write an essay to speak about and then learn all the things I'd written about in case she asked me certain questions. I had a list of questions she could ask me, and then like I thought language should be a bit more fluid than that, right? Like it should be a little bit more like conversational, but I just learned scripts for languages. I didn't really like. I didn't like the whole script learning. I thought it was a bit pointless. I didn't really like it. Also wasn't the language I wanted. I wanted to do German, but German wasn't offered at my school. I had to do Spanish, so no good. I have an aunt in Spain, but I talked to her. So at the time I had good intentions, but I wish I didn't choose a language. I wish I'd chosen something else instead. But yeah, good luck over doing languages. I hate languages. I think I think it's interesting. I do learn languages like in my own spare time, but being taught them in school is something else, I think, isn't it? I would have chosen something else. Yeah, the reading bit. Yeah, I used to hate that. I used to hate all of it. I used to be not so bad at listening. Listening I was quite good at. But I used to hate like the writing and the speaking, because I hated the essay learning part of it, like having to learn these big bits of A4 paper just to regurgitate them to someone. Like, what was the point? Like, I'm never gonna, like, I remember in my essay, I had a film as one of my topics. I compared Pan's Labyrinth with the In-Betweeners movie. If you know of either of those two movies, I think In-Betweeners is kind of a bit old for you guys. It's a very crude British comedy, right, about people in a school. I compared that with Pan's Labyrinth, which is a very, very artsy film from the legendary horror director Guillermo del Toro. They are not linked in any way, but I had to learn this essay about it, and it just regurgitated it in the test, and it was just like, why? I'm never going to mention any of these words or these things ever again, so like, why am I learning this? Yeah, I hated language. I wish I'd chosen something else. I think I would have chosen, what else would I have chosen? I chose geography instead, actually. I did history, liked history, but I didn't do geography. I would have chosen geography instead. Sad. If I could go back in time. And then, what else? Maths mock today. Oh, how do you think it went, Alicia? How'd it go? Your maths mock. How was it? You can never really tell sometimes, can you, with maths mocks? You never really know. Sometimes you might think it's done, because I always used to be in school, if I thought I'd done really well on a test, I'd like flunked it, and if I thought I'd done really poorly, I'd done really well. I don't know how that works. I don't know how I managed to do that, but like pretty consistently, if I thought I'd done really well, I'd flunked it, and if I thought I'd done really bad, I'd done like awful. Yeah, it's just bad. So it's just, yeah. But I hope it's done well for you. We have to learn an essay. Yeah, well, for the writing, we technically weren't meant to learn an essay, but the chat she told us to do. For the writing exam, we were given like something to write about, so we then do like practice essays, and she told us to take the most recent one she'd marked through the bits that she'd been told us to improve, learn that essay from top to bottom, and then just write it again in the exam. Like my brain won't fit that many words. It was like 4 pages of A4. My brain is not going to fit that many words in it, you know? Like, I'm not that clever. You do geography? Yeah, I like geography. I used to like geography in school. When I stopped it at year 9. I did it like up to year 9, and then year 10 I stopped doing it. But I did like it. I really liked history. I got 4 marks on my history exams. I got a little mark next to my exam script. On the exam like thing I got back on the like where you get the marks back, like results. Got a little mark on it saying I got 4 marks. It was my Cold War paper. I got 4 marks on it. So yeah, not to flex. But I was quite good at history. So I think geography would also have been quite fun, just to like see the contrast. Obviously, they were taught very synonymously between like year 7 to year 9. I think it would have been interesting. So the last question was, so how do you find the area of a sector, the area of a circle, the area of something else? Yeah, I think I might have seen that question before. It was like, if it was last year's paper, then I think I've seen that one. It was tough. But yeah. But if you find any area, it's probably got to scrape some method marks, right? Method marks, good thing to scrape. So I'm sure you done grand. I'm sure you did great. Don't worry. That sounds very condescending, so I don't mean to be condescending. I hope you done really well. I hope you got exactly what you wanted, hopefully. Got my Latin and maths marks back. I did not do well. I got 31 out of 80 on the highest paper. That's not bad, 31 out of 80 is not bad at all, right? To say it's this like early in the game, you've got 5 months, right? Could easily turn that into higher than that. Easy. Like, I've seen some students come to me who think they're on track for a 7 and they're getting like scraping like 11 out of 80 on a higher paper. Like, I've seen some horrors in my day, but if you're getting 31 out of 80 at this point in time, then that's very well done. You've got plenty of time to improve before now, like from now until June. Loads of time, from now to May, I should say. But yeah, very well. But 31 out of 80 is not to be scoffed at. It's pretty good. Not bad, right? And then obviously when you're in the exam, your adrenaline will kick in, and you might do better, hopefully, than what you've done in your mock. People normally do. And the adrenaline kicks in, they've got an extra revision under their belt. Yeah, and we had to pick. We had different bands. So so if you did triple science. So yeah, it was chopped off. You couldn't do any like the artsy stuff. You couldn't do like drama or photography or arts. If you did triple science in my school, you either did like one or the other. I didn't really mind. I wasn't really artsy anyway. And then I had to choose. You had to choose one language, either French or Spanish or Latin. Because I went to a Catholic school. But Latin was in the chapel with the priest. So I didn't really want to do that. So it was a bit weird. It was just like this class size is what it is. It always runs. So if there's like one person chooses Latin, it's just you and the priest every week in his chapel. So I didn't really want to do that. So I chose Spanish instead. And then we had to choose. I chose computer science and history out of I think I have 4 other options, like RE US compulsory. I went to practice school. I think out of like computer science, D&T, like all the like technologies, computer science and history geography. I chose history and computer science is what I picked. Awful computer science, but picked it anyway. The grade boundaries to pass higher paper, it changes every year. If you go on to like past, like if you Google like 2020 grade boundaries Edexcel, it'll come up with what they are, but they do change every year, so bear that in mind. And I would assume they will get higher this year than they were last year. People are probably going to be better than this year than they were last year. They got more prepared, and they've had less COVID implications, kind of. So there's that. Does it end already? Yeah. Well, just kind of chatting at this point. Yeah, normally it should end at 5, but I'm just a gossip. I just like to chat. So it should end at 5, but not 5, 6. Starts at 5, should end at 6. But I like to natter. So never end at 6. I like to just chat. In triple science is fun. I love triple science. I'm also teaching triple science at the moment. I teach biology, chemistry, physics. So I like triple science. It used to be harder, obviously, maybe not harder. The content I think was easier when I was in school, but I used to have to sit 3 papers. You got it easy these days. So when I first learned this, when I first started teaching them, I was like, what? Because I used to do 3 papers each. So 3 papers for chemistry, 3 papers for biology, and 3 papers for physics. You guys just did 2 apiece now. Much easier. I did 3 each. So I did 9 papers overall for all the sciences when I did my GCSEs. So yeah, imagine that. 3 each. Golly gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I think the are going to be really high this year. I assume so. I mean, they got advanced information last year, which probably would have boosted it a little bit, but then people misunderstood the advanced information. There was controversy around it. Things came up when they weren't meant to. There was a lot of waffle last year on the advanced information, so I'd imagine they're going to be quite high this year. People are going to be prepared this year. Teachers, I think if they took a hit last year, they're going to be really on it this year with making sure that everyone's got their grades up. I'm going to be really on it this year. What else we got? I'm doing Latin, French, triple science and graphics. Fun. Explore. You shouldn't have. You should have 6. 2 chemistry, 2 physics, 2 biology. That's 6. Isn't it? I don't think you do have 9 papers. You have 2 apiece these days, don't you? They're doing some other exam board that I don't know of. If you're doing like, I don't know, OCR or something, like OCRB or something, I don't know. But you should have 6. Yeah, triple science, you should have 6. Paper 1, paper 2. Yeah. You sound unless I'm completely just misunderstood my entire life. But yeah, I think it's just two papers each. You don't have 3 papers anymore. They got rid of it, I think. I hope. Yeah, paper 1, paper 2. You have 6. Do not worry, Luke's glue. I mean, that's hopefully better for you. Hey, even better. It's got 6. 6 is good. I like 6s. What example are you doing? Because you shouldn't. Are you tricking me? Are you mocking me? I can't tell. What example do you do? Because I don't think you should. Unless you're doing a really random one. Unless you're doing like, I don't know, the Welsh example. The Welsh might still do 3 apiece. I don't know about them. They're on their own world. I don't know. Scottish Highland also may do 3 apiece. I don't know. They're their own world as well. I don't know. But AQA, EdXL still do 2 papers apiece. They don't do 3. They do 2. I'm telling you. I promise you. I promise. They do 2 each. And I've got the timetable. I can tell you when they all are. And there is no paper 3s. No, you do 2. Your teacher's misunderstood, unfortunately. I can promise you, because you can see when your exam timetable is. If you Google AQA exam timetable 2023, it'll come up all your papers. And if you're in EdXL Sciences, it'll come up as well. It's the same. Those same dates. So yeah, you're doing 6, 2 each. 2 maths, 3 maths. Maybe you're thinking 3 maths. They do 3 maths papers. You'll do 3 maths. You'll just do 2 sciences for science. So you do 2 chemistry, 2 physics, 2 biology, 3 maths, 2 English, I think, Lit and Lang. Okay, well, I don't know about English. Hold my hands up, I don't know much about that. But yeah. Yeah, you should be doing 2. Yeah, if you are doing 3, then correct me next week, because I've never heard that before in my life. I've been teaching the sciences a long time. Yeah, it is. Yeah, do not worry, because paper. I can tell you what's on each of them. Paper 1 for physics is energy, electricity, possible model of matter, atomic structure and radiation, and then paper 2 is forces, waves, EM induction, and space. No, paper 3 does not fit into the agenda. So yeah, don't worry, you're doing 2. Worried me then. Right, I'm gonna go then, because I am no, it is not. That's power of power, which is 5 times, which is 15. If it was like that, it'd be a to the 5 times a to the 3. That would be a to the 8. But a to the 5 to the power of 3 is a to the 15. Power times power, power add power. There you go. 3 line papers, 3 science papers. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, 6 science papers. Yeah, I thought so. But anyway, I'm going to go because I'm 20 minutes over. I do not get paid to be here at 20 minutes. I just like the natter, that's all. I need to go have some dinner because I forgot to eat today, which is no good. Do not forget to eat like me. Very bad. And I've got 40 minutes before my next lesson. So I'm going to do some maths later on. Some more maths. How fun. But I'm going to go then. So have a lovely rest of your evening, everyone. Hope you all have enjoyed the live stream. Hope you've all had fun. And I will hopefully see you all next week.